Alright guys, today I'm going to be working on my 2002 Toyota Celica GTS with the 2ZZ engine. As you can see, I have a lot of stuff missing, a lot of stuff that's taken out. Fuel rail laid down. I had already put this engine in. I took the old one out. I put a new one in. Turns out I was sold a bad one. I was sold a bad engine with a valve that had exploded. So now I had already finished putting this one in, connected everything, got the brand new radiator in, new battery, everything. I put it all back together, started it, it ran for a couple seconds, then it would die out. And then I ended up finding out after taking off the intake, found out valve exploded, so I needed another engine. And I'm most likely going to rebuild this one. Now, I'm in the process of taking everything apart. So I'm taking you guys along with me to take everything apart. I corrected all the connectors again, so I'm going through the process now. My beginning process will be just to remove all the connectors, make sure the engine is not connected to the car by any means. So that would probably, I guess it's gonna mean, take off the power steering pump, remove all the connectors, remove the AC, the compressor, remove the hoses, radiator hoses, and anything else that'll be connecting the engine to the car that'll be holding it still. So now I'm going to go through the electrical connection. These are the tools I'm going to be using to take out all the electrical plugs and connectors and take out power steering pump as well. So I'm going to be using just regular 1/4 inch sockets, 3/8 inch, 3/8 ratchet, 1/4 inch also ratchet, extensions, adapters for my drill, a couple of pick, a couple of small screwdrivers, and a small flathead, some pliers, big flathead, and a magnet just in case I drop something. Alright, I'm going to go ahead and begin. Just start removing the connectors that I can see. So these ones right here, for example, the ones I'm pointing at right in front of my little finger. Just going to begin by removing that. That one right there. This one is connected to the oil dipstick with a little bracket, so I just pulled that off. It did break, but I'll fix that when I go back to put it all together. For the alternator, disconnect this one right here. This black one with 3 prongs. Pop that out. That's disconnected. Now there's also one connected to the AC compressor, so I'm going to disconnect this one as well. This little bracket holding in the AC compressor connector, I'm going to take that out as well. Alright, so to remove this little brake clip right here that I'm pointing at, you just pull this little tab on the end back. This tab right here, pull it back, and pull it off. Next, I'm going to remove this ground from the alternator. You see 10mm. I have it already loose, but that size is a 10mm. I'm just going to put the nut right back on, the stud, so that I don't lose track of it and I remember where it goes. Now you should be able to just snake the wiring harness around a little bit, pull it out. I'm going to leave it to the side right there for now. Now to disassemble this part, disassemble this entire area right here. Alright, so normally this other end of the wires of the harness goes to the starter. This is the ground and the power. This usually goes to the starter, but I have the starter missing, so I'm not going to go through that. Now I'm going to go through this part of the engine, where the ignition coils and where the fuel rail connectors go. the injectors. So these are 10s right here. These two are 10s. Try to remember a way to recognize these two. I'm going to use blue tape on the top one and write top on it, and then the bottom one, well, it'll just be obvious that it's the bottom one. And then there's just connectors holding this all together. So I'm going to get my 10mm now. Alright, I got my 10mm with a small extension just to give myself more room. I have these already pretty loose. I'm just making sure. Like this one. Just gonna get them loose just enough to get it out by hand. And I dropped it. It's alright. That's why I have the magnet. Here's the magnet. There we go. I'm generally clumsy. Sometimes I get butterfingers and drop stuff. That's why I keep my magnet handy. You might not be as clumsy as I am. But now I'm putting the bolt right back into where it was. Moving the top one now. Taking it off. Bolt right back where it was. Now I'm going to grab my tape and mark this one. You could also recognize this. Mine specifically has a brown cable connected to the top one as well. Yours might not. Mine does. So that's how I was able to recognize the top and the bottom. But I'm just going to put tape on it just so I have an easier time. Alright, I have that disconnected. I'm going to go ahead and disconnect this plug right here. Let me see. Oh, my tab is broken on it, so mine just pulls right off. You'll have to push the tab down on yours. Here's this little gray connector on the, I believe this is the VVT. It's one of the solenoids. There's another connector right here. This one's a little tough. I can't quite do it with one hand. I'll try with my other hand. Not coming through for me. That's why I have my little picks. So I'm just gonna use a little pick and then push that off. There's another connector down here. This one's a little bit more difficult to get to. This one I'm definitely gonna have to use the pick for. To make life easier, I'm probably just gonna remove the hose. I'm gonna remove it anyways. So I'm gonna remove the hose. Just this entire hose already. Get it out the way anyways. These I have connected with some aftermarket hose clamps. These are I like these versions better. The other ones are a little more tricky, a little more difficult to go through. These versions, these ones tend to be a little more tricky to handle. You have to use two hands to get this one, but this one you just have to use one hand. So I'm pretty sure this style is probably stronger, probably better. I'll just bite the bullet because ease of use. Here I have my pick. There we go. Now that it's loose, it'll pop right off. Same thing for this one down here. I'm going to try to get it without disconnecting the hose. My fingers are just too big to do it actually, so I'm going to have to just disconnect this hose, this one as well for the heater core. These are just, mine's are 8s, so I'm just going to use a flathead to get them out. You're definitely going to hear a lot of ambient noise because I'm recording on a Sunday afternoon. Everybody's out now, everybody's playing. Now I'm going ahead and removing this connector. Not this connector, but this hose clamp. Just to make life easier for me to remove my hose, my electrical connector. This will also probably be my first video on my channel, so I'm just getting used to all this, trying to figure out how my intro is going to be, what intro, what names and stuff, and try to figure out what kind of style of recording I'm going to try to use, you know. Hopefully you guys bear with me on the process of all that. I'm going to be posting some how-tos on the cars I work on. I'm going to be posting this a lot on this Celica, a lot about the rebuild that I'm going to do with it. I'm going to be posting a lot on the rebuild. Alright. Just have some coolant left over. It's alright. Alright, it turns out this one was also broken. Yeah, this one was also broken. So I did not even need to. Yeah, I'm gonna have to replace that. Order a new one. Anyways, now we get to the top part. For the ignition coils, this is the wiring harness. These are pretty easy. They're held on by 2 nuts, 10 millimeters also. I already took them out and put them right back where they were, so I don't forget them, don't lose them. These are relatively easy to take out. Now the hard part of this is right over here. On this side of the connector, there is a connector that goes all the way down to the power steering pump. Pull this little part up. You can see that it's connected right there. See the connector right there. It's hard to see on camera, but if you put your hand down there, you'll be able to feel it. It's right at the end of that little rubber boot. Right below that rubber boot is right there. Just sits right there. This one could be a little hard to get off. You are gonna have to put your hand down there and squeeze the tab and pull it off. If this is your first time squeezing your tab and pulling it off of this specific connector, it's gonna be pretty tough to get it off, especially if there is any sort of power steering fluid leak on it, a little oily, or if anything's leaking on it, it's gonna be pretty hard to get off. So just try your best. Clean it if you have to. Clean it. Use a little rag, a little bit of brake clean. Not brake clean. Don't use brake clean on it. Use a electrical connector cleaner. You can use one of the. Here it is. This is the part right here. It's gonna be facing this way, about this way, and the tab is gonna be on the almost like the bottom side. So it's gonna be facing like this. Say this is the connector. It's gonna be facing like that. So the tab's gonna be on this back side. Simply push the tab nice and hard and tug it up. Do not pull this one by the wire at all. This is a one wire. If you pull this out, you will break the end of that wire. You're going to break the wire off. Although it's not hard to actually fix this, replace this, but the engine, I'm just gonna end up removing the bracket that holds these shift linkages in. Just gonna remove the bracket, pull it off, and disconnect these clips with these I forget what these are called. These clips, just gonna pull them off, remove this little washer, and then these linkages will be able to come off no problem. If you just want to remove the actual linkage arms, alright, I'm just gonna make sure my linkages, I'm just gonna make sure my transmission is in neutral. When I do this, I do have the manual 6-speed, so I'm just making sure my transmission is neutral, and I'm gonna avoid trying to play around with the shifter so that my transmission doesn't get out of whack when I try to install it again. As I was saying, also, you could just remove these little clips. There's 2 of them for both sides. Pull it up or pop it up with a little hammer. Do whatever you have to do to pull it up. You can use a vice grip, and you'll be able to just slide this part right here, this connector. You just slide it up, and it'll be out. If you do go ahead and remove the bracket, like I will be, this bracket right here, this gray nut right there, that is a 14. There's 2. So just disconnect that, remove it with a 14 millimeter. Right, they're usually pretty tight on there, so you're gonna want to use the 3/8 ratchet and the 3/8 14 so that you can get it out. Alright, to remove that bolt, actually I ended up removing the battery tray, and so that I could get to the back, put an extension on my 3/8 ratchet. Just like this, put an extension, pop it off, and go at it from this way, going through this hole right down there where my end of my ratchet is at. Also, these are the ground points. This ground point, I do have it loose, right? This outermost left one, I have it connected to down there. This right one, I have it connected to the top of that part transmission right there. I don't know if this is the actual correct way. I do have a diagram. I will put the diagram on the video right now. You can confirm with your own Celica if that is how it is. Right, make sure to tighten those down, clean those up. These are going to get cleaned up, and put stainless steel bolts on it so that they don't rust again. Alright, now that I have the linkages out of the way, I actually did forget, there is one more connector, 2 more actually. These 2 connectors right here. See get the camera to focus. That one right there, and this gray one right here. Same process for both of these. Just hold down the tabs and pull them apart. Just remember not to pull from the cables, and you'll be alright. Alright, so now I have it disconnected from there. I removed the 2 connectors right there. I have the wiring harness over here, just laid down to the side. To remove the wiring harness, you have to go underneath the fuse box right here in the front. These little tabs, you pull them apart. There's 3 here, 4 on the bigger side. First, I'm just going to remove the smaller one first. I already popped the tabs loose. Just give it a little tug up. It'll pull up. Now it's sort of out and loose. Now I'm going to start on the bigger one to get the bigger one out and pull it out as a unit. You'll see here. I'm going to grab the edge, and I'm going to pull that side up a little bit so that it doesn't snap back into place. See, if I just pull it out and do it like that, it doesn't stay in place like that one. So I'm just going to pull it out and pull up a little bit so that the actual harness, the actual clip, stay get this done with one hand, pushing it in, pulling it up. Now I'm just going to do this off camera. Alright, so now that I got this box out, pulled it out already, just with the 4 tabs, push them in, pull them out one by one. Now it all sort of pulls up as a unit. Just be gentle so that you don't accidentally pull out a connector, break it. You're just gonna go underneath it and disconnect the ones that are connected to this wiring harness right here. Once you disconnect the ones that are going to this wire harness, this harness will just pull out. Alright, so my wiring harness, I took it out. Now I have all the connections from the fuse to the harness out. This gray one right here, you'll just have to press the tabs on the side. These two tabs on the sides, and it'll just pop right out. So those are pretty simple. However, mine is also connected to the transmission through a ground right around there. So it's connected to the harness. So I'm just gonna remove the grounds, remove them, get them out so that I can take the harness out. There's a ground right there, all the way at the bottom. That one is a 12 millimeter down there. That one right there. Right at the point of my finger is where the 12 millimeter is. Remove it, I'm just gonna pop it straight off. Alright, so now I have it all out. I disconnected the 12 millimeter. There comes the wiring harness with the battery terminal and everything. Now it's all laid out. I'm just gonna pop these fuse box right back into place. Put the cap back on. Drop a bolt. That was part of the plan. And yeah, that's about it for the video today. Thank you guys for watching. I appreciate you guys watching. I'm going to continue posting videos on the whole process. My next step will be to then remove the hoses from the power steering pump. I'm going to do a little bit of a tutorial on how to remove the power steering pump. It is a bit difficult. Then after that, I'll show a tutorial on how to remove the AC compressor, how to remove the alternator and the belt as well. Probably going to put the belt video out first because it is the simplest, and it is also a very important part to getting the power steering pump out. So thank you guys for watching. I hope you guys tag along and post any questions you have in the comments. I'll try to respond. I'll try to put diagrams. I have access to some of the diagrams of the engine, some specifics. If you guys have any questions, post it in the comments. All right, thank you guys, and I hope you guys stay safe.